All right, let's dive into one of the most famous and, one of the most intimidating quotes in all of philosophy. It's a line that can feel like this huge judgment on how we're all living our lives.
The unexamined life is not worth living. I mean, you've heard it. It's powerful, it's profound, and let's be honest, it sounds incredibly harsh, right?
So the big question for this study guide is, what was Socrates actually getting at? Was he really saying that if you're not sitting around in deep philosophical thought all day, your life is basically meaningless? It kind of sounds that way, but let's dig in and see if that's the whole story. Okay, so to really get this quote, we have to understand the context. This wasn't some line from a quiet lecture in a university. This was a man on trial for his life in ancient Athens, defending his entire existence. And the backstory here is pretty wild. It all starts when the Oracle at Delphi, a huge deal back then, says no one is wiser than Socrates. Socrates is baffled, so he goes on this mission, questioning all the supposed wise guys in Athens, the politicians, the poets, you name it. And what does he find? He discovers they all think they know things, but they really don't. Socrates, on the other hand, at least knew that he was ignorant. Well, poking holes in everyone's ego made him a lot of enemies. They call him the gadfly of Athens for constantly bugging people. And that's what lands him in court, in front of over 500 jurors where he's ultimately found guilty and sentenced to death. It's there, in that moment, that he says his famous line. And this is so crucial to understanding his whole deal. Socratic wisdom isn't about having all the answers. It's the complete opposite. It's about being aware of your own ignorance. His whole claim to being wise was that he was the only one who knew he knew nothing. That's the mindset he's in when he faces his accusers. Okay, so now that we've set this scene, let's look at how most people hear this quote. We'll call this the strict and frankly kind of problematic interpretation. This common reading is, well, it's pretty brutal. It basically says if you're not constantly examining your life, it has zero value. Zilch. It's this all or nothing idea that feels super discouraging. But is that really fair? Is that what he meant?
To figure that out, let's put this strict view to the test. A little thought experiment should do the trick.
So picture this. Her name is Mary. She's doing this unbelievably important, heroic work, right? She's helping protect young women from being trafficked. Her days are just all-consuming. It's virtuous, but it's completely exhausting. At the end of the day, she is totally spent. There is absolutely no gas left in the tank for deep reading or philosophical reflection. She just needs to crash so she can get up and do it all over again. So here's the question. According to that strict interpretation, are we forced to say that Mary's incredibly noble and valuable life is worthless? Just because it's unexamined? I mean, our gut reaction screamed, no way! Her life is obviously valuable. So there has to be something wrong with that strict interpretation.
And there is. This brings us to a much more nuanced and, I think, much more profound way of looking at it. And the key comes from looking at the original Greek, which scholar Richard Kraut has really helped shed light on.
The secret is in one little Greek word, biotos. When we translate it as worth, it sounds like a calculation, like your life is either worth 100 points or 0. But a much better translation of biotos is a life to be lived or livable. So Socrates isn't saying an unexamined life has zero value. He's saying it's not the kind of life a human being would choose to live, that it's not a life fit for us in our fullest, most complete sense. And here's the difference, side by side. The strict view says Mary's life is worthless. The nuanced view says her incredibly valuable life is just missing something. It's a life not to be lived, not because it's bad, but because if you had the choice, you'd choose the life that includes that deeper understanding. It's not a judgment, it's an observation about what helps us truly flourish.
So what does this all mean for us? And for our friend Mary in Moldova? What exactly does examination add to a life that's already good?
I love this metaphor. It's like having a kind of hole in your soul. Think of it this way. Living a good life without reflecting on it is like owning a masterpiece painting but keeping it in a pitch-black room. The painting is still valuable, right? But you're not experiencing its beauty or understanding why it's a masterpiece. The examination is what flips on the lights.
So here's the ultimate takeaway for your study notes. Self-examination doesn't create a life's worth. It's not a golden ticket you need to have a worthwhile life. Your life, and Mary's life, already has value. What examination does is enhance that value. It deepens it and makes it more meaningful to you. It completes the picture.
So, in the true spirit of Socrates, I'll leave you with a question. Let's not worry about the giant, scary idea of examining your whole life. Let's just think about today.
What's one thing, one belief, one habit, one relationship in your life that's worth taking a closer look at?